So joining me for our conversation is Security Analyst Adam Bona. Good afternoon to you, sir, and thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon, yes.
Great.
Thanks for having me.
We also have Kate Aidoo. Now, Kate has a peculiar story. She is a victim of acid attack. Kate is going to share her story, but we did indicate that there should be some viewer discretion because of her appearance. Her appearance is as a result of a criminal attack on her, but she will be sharing her story. She's here with her mother. They came all the way from Kasoa to tell us their story. And Kate, you're welcome. Can you speak up a bit? Yes, and you've requested that we have this conversation in Fanti. Yes, so I'll do my best to have a conversation with you and then do a quick summary for the benefit of our audience who do not understand the language. Mr. Bona, I'll come back to you, but I want to start with Kate. Kate, really, tell us what happened.
26 March 2019. Me mobile money. Nti anapan 9 o'clock me was store na boys too. Mobile hode ombe ska. Nti ombe yi 10 cedis. Nti be 20 minutes na almost time back say omo to Vodafone card. Na me ka twa mo say Vodafone card eni hono. Na almost say me ya transfer ya na me say ai. Nti me yi phone say me beje ne number na ba ko so fie echi e hwe acid bu me so. No, oh yes, so me kon na me tentem ne aboafo bai na me fa me call Village of Hope clinic. Na me transfer me ba Kolobu hospital. Na me beje ayare show plastic surgery. Ene Kolobu eye clinic.
Mamenta say how nipa krones ekru hwe acid good na ekru su mi awokon.
I just now mobile no mu yetu number 2 ombe mobile money 10 cedi no mo kwe until later on na ko din kan ba so to Vodafone card until me catch when say Vodafone card eni home no say me transfer na me say na until me phone say me bo code na me beje ne number na ba ko no fie chi be hwe acid ne gu me so
ofi we chi be
of a gate of gate no na buy na me si metiase a meje ba kone number na ba kone fiechi bi hwe acid egu no gu me so
na nti ohwe acid no good no oka wo skin no abade na efili
na me ho hyehyem
na ho hyehyem
pa cha
na se cross san mia wo kwan
ne o hwe acid no gu me so na na o mia me ko
okay
na o mo fast can I was store ni na de ko
ahena wo fe
that time no mo for 1500
okay.
na mo de ko
na the mad na we si da na we si wo baby e wo business si da na atete da bibi da me si wo baby da okay
na me wo gun wa fete
okay okay so I'll just do a quick wrap so and correct me where I go wrong. Kate is telling us that there was one day she was plying her trade, doing Momo transfers, where 2 young men approached her, did one transaction, and then they came back. One of them poured acid on her and, tried to strangle her. And from there, you were taken to the hospital nearby and later to Kolebu on referral for treatment. Now, Kate, let's get to know you. Tell us about yourself. It's in fear he fapote nete we family.
Maybe 23 years.
Okay.
Me wo go mo afete. Me nuanom ye mba anan me num na be ma ba ko. 5 girls, 1 boy. Me ne ma me nkwa na ti. Ye wo ho no ma me ton be nkune nchinam.
Okay, so you're saying you live at Gomoafete. There are 5 girls in the family and 1 boy, and you live with your mother. Yeah. Can I ask, if I may, where's your father?
Papa wa Apam.
Okay. Do you see him often, where he is in Apam?
Menta mi hun. Okay.
Okay. Inti the madi osim where was your former men, our sisters, and our brother? How did they take it?
Obia will be the boy. Kakobia will be the boy.
Now, I will go through the hospital. About how much time, weeks, and other months, ne spend in hospital?
Me could dark 2 months, 2 weeks. Na yebafi week bia me ko plastic surgery na me ba. It did 2 weeks and I said 1 week na ma sanko eye clinic na ma kwa jimeni so treatment.
Inti our hospital ho na bade na adwen ho.
Na me dwen le me dwen de me san me hu ade bio.
Pacha come and say bio.
Me san me hu ade bio.
Okay.
Because na me de wona me hu hwe. Na me mpa mo say me san me hu ade bio.
Okay. So you were in the hospital for about 2 weeks and you were worried about your eyesight. Yeah. What's the situation with your eyesight right now?
Says ya de menin me hu ba ko. Ne me hu no so me hu ne clear kusukusu.
Okay, what you're saying is you've lost vision in one of your eyes and then the other is not so clear.
Yeah. Okay,
so how has your life changed since this incident and you've lost your 100% vision?
No, me chest no so baby I plastic surgery. A woman I come inside ba ko na me ya. Me ejuma kakra na I say ma bre.
Okay, so aside the poor vision, you also get tired when you do a bit of work. So are you still working?
No.
Okay, so your mom takes care of you?
Yes, please.
Okay. Very sorry about this incident happening to you, but we are grateful that you came here to share your story. Mr. Bona, I'll come to you. And in our report, we showed these incidents or criminal activities happening. This is not the first time. I remember last week, I was listening to Kwame Safakai, and he was reading out a list of criminal activities reported to the police in a week, in the space of a week, and it was a bit overwhelming. First of all, from your expert's eye view, what's going on with Kasoa?
Good afternoon to your viewers and to yourself. It's my first time coming here, even though I occasionally talk to yourselves by other means, either Zoom or.
Welcome, and we hope that you like the studios.
Yes, it looks brilliant. I've never been here. It looks like you have a new metro.
We are rebranding.
Metro, brand.
Yes.
The old brand looks like it's gone.
It's gone.
Yeah, it looks very beautiful, magnificent.
I'm
impressed, yes. But on the substance itself, the issue of Kasoa didn't start today. The issue of Kasoa has always been there. The issue of Kasoa, started staring at us many years ago. The only thing we haven't done, or the authorities have really not done, is to pay attention to Kasoa. And I have said it on, either through writings or speaking to the media, that Kasoa has now edged a shaman when it comes to crime and violent crime statistics. Kasoa is now almost becoming the new normal, so much so that every day, you have just an insignificant number of cases involving violent crimes reported at various police stations in Kasoa or in the Kasoa enclave. And the simple reason is that the police in that area have become overwhelmed. You can't blame them. If you take the population of Kasoa as against the police strength in terms of human capacity or resource, you notice that you have about 1 police officer to almost 3,000 citizens in Kasoa. That itself is the first red flag. Kasoa, the reason why you see Kasoa becoming this way is because it suffers from what I call a crisis in terms of identification. Where does Kasoa belong? Does Kasoa belong to the Greater Accra region, or it belongs to the Central region?
And I think you need to throw more light on that. There's a political belonging and there's a geographical.
Thank you. So if you look at the topography of Kasoa, Kasoa doesn't belong anywhere. And if you have a community that looks like a banana community, when I say banana community, if you take a country like Somalia, you know, Somalia, if you meet Somalians, usually, you know, in other countries, they will tell you, I'm from Somaliland. They don't even say it's a country. So, but Kasoa has unfortunately become a banana community where it looks like the rules governing this country, they are news, they are, you know, they have their own set of rules that governs them. The simple reason is that when resources are brought to the central government, I mean, you know, resources are churned out from the central point to the various regions. Various regions then distribute to divisions and districts. And so you have police resource, fire service and the rest. That would have to come from, call it Greater Accra, or police central, you know, police headquarters. It goes to Cape Coast. Almost all of it remains in Cape Coast and its peripherals. And then you have almost what is given to Greater Accra also ending up around Greater Accra, and Kasoa is left out.
Wow.
So when, you know, you would have maybe police capacity in Greater Accra would be beefed up, taking into consideration Kasoa. Cape Coast might be beefed up, taking into consideration Kasoa. Yet when crimes are happening, all of them come and end up just at the outskirts of Kasoa, and they end up there. And so the people of Kasoa are left. And that is, you know, how terrible the situation is. Coupled with the fact that during the Liberian-Sierra Leonean War, some refugees, Kasoa became the, you know, a refugee camp. If you visited a refugee camp outside this country, it is usually not so different from, what do you call it, what we had at the Bujumburan camp. Usually refugees don't have the right to work, yet they eat, they sleep. They do everything like myself and you, yet because of that thing that you are a refugee, the UN, you know, whatever on refugee would say that they are supposed to be catered for. So most of them started involving themselves in petty crimes. Most of them gave birth to children. Most of them, you know, and eventually the camp is no longer there. But on paper, it's no longer there. On paper, it's been wiped out.
But on the ground.
But as we speak, these people who were left behind have not been properly reintegrated into our communities. So you go there today, and you have all manner of persons, that is not to denigrate them, from the sub-region who have converged, not convergent, have converged in Kasoa. And as we speak, if we don't pay attention to the security situation of Kasoa, I'm sure you've noticed that this DC is saying, you know, the crimes are not happening in Kasoa. This is saying it's not, so this is the identity thing I'm talking about.
The identity crisis.
Identity crisis. And until we deal with it, it's going to be very difficult. Other proposals that have come up is to make Kasoa a police region. So for instance, when Kwame Nkrumah built Tema became became a police region. And so even though in the then 10 regional capitals of Ghana, in the 10 demarcations, in the then demarcations of Ghana, we had 10 regional capitals.
Yes.
Within the police, we had 11 regional commands, including Tema. Yeah. And Tema covered Ashaman, because Tema is supposed to be an industrial enclave. So for a very good reason, Tema was given a lot of attention. I grew up in Tema. And so those days, if we were looking for the hardened criminals in the early 70s, into the late 70s and 80s, the Yaya boy, anybody who is as old as I am or older than me would know who Yaya boy was, would tell you who Guarantee was. Ashaiman was a den for it was so small. But the police could surround the whole of Ashaiman those days and go in there and arrest some of them. Eventually, today, if you go to Ashaiman has become a bit better in terms of crime statistics because a lot of attention has been paid, even though much should go. Kasoa has become, I call it a banana community because nobody seems to care. Crimes are happening. You have a young woman, 23-year-old, who has got acid poured on her. And this is just one person you have here. Just one. Very unfortunate. As young as she is, she should have a life full of life. And I don't think they've arrested this person. Do you blame the police? No. Because as far as we have police existing on paper in Kasoa area, and so if we continue to have police existing on paper in the Kasoa area, it is going to be, a time will come when me and you, we can't cross Kasoa to, what do you call it, Winneba. We cannot cross Kasoa to Cape Coast. Because then eventually you get there, they will yank you out of your car and take the car from you, and the car will vanish because we are paying lip service to Kasoa. And so for me, until such a time that our leaders, the powers that be, start paying attention to Kasoa, go there. Most of the bad things are happening in Kasoa today. And nobody cares. Nobody cares. The police is overwhelmed. You can't blame them because they don't have the resources.
But if they don't have the resources and they are given a job, isn't it a reasonable expectation that the inhabitants will have that if you don't have the resources, speak to whichever higher authority to get you what you need to fight crime?
Well, I think it is reasonable to say what you are saying until such a time that maybe we don't pray for that, touch wood. Maybe some big man becomes a victim, then we begin to pay attention. It shouldn't get there. Because as we speak, I mean, I say it every day, go to your police headquarters. There are police officers there, I mean, not all of them, who are lazy about not doing anything. I work with them. Go to your police headquarters. I'm sure some of them are watching me. Some of them are sitting there, they are not doing any work. So let's really look at the human resource thing and say, we have too many of them who are lazy about, let's put them there. What do we need? I would call, and I would join that call to make Kasoa a police region. Because if you look at the topography of Kasoa, if you look at the landmark, it's so big, unlike Ashaiman. Ashaiman, though, it started as a small community. So you've had other people have built community. I hear it goes to community, whatever now, and it's all part of Ashaiman, but they call it Tema. So you realize that the proper Ashaiman is there. But because you now have people, middle income earners who have all gone in there, Ashaiman, the face of Ashaiman is changing. Unlike Kasoa, it's not changing, it's rather becoming a banana community. And I would have wished that the IGP and his team would make a strong recommendation to probably the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament, so that proper structures will be put in place. But you see, this young woman, I would have wished that the telecom company that she was actually working as a teller for, when I say teller, all this mobile money, whatever, they operate, they are like banks. So is there any insurance for this woman? Who was she making, even though she was getting some peanuts here and there, who was she making this money for? Is that giant telecom company that will put some umbrella, under her or on top of her, and then all she's got is her yam phone to transfer money, and somebody comes and pour acid. Have you heard that you walk to any of our mainstream banks and you there will pour an acid on a teller? It's happening. So mine is that the situation is probably gotten out of hand. You can see young people, and it's becoming repetitive. Now, it's taking a new dimension. That is why this young woman I'm sure this issue came up and your reporters found her and they brought her, but from what she said, it's about 2 years.
Yes.
How many of them probably are not so fortunate to be here? There are several. These issues that are going on is because now the adults have committed the crime and nobody is talking in Kasoa. Now the children are the ones committing the crime.
Yes.
It's the reason why we are here.
And I would want, I'll hold your horses. I want you to come back and really speak to children and crime. But I want to go back to her. You raised a fantastic point really about without mentioning the name of the telcos. Okay. So, Yipakrona na another company na ye womomo ama womoba mani ama wono. Isi ya nate wonka.
Mete wonka. Neko hospital. Boss na mami 100 Ghana na medeko. Okay,
so you've heard from them. They give you 100 Ghana cedis for your hospital visits. Okay, but in your work can be about maybe sana start to wage juma wabemao a bit of protection under the security kakra. Well, and you won't have them conversation. I will a bit pede a besana ye juma na de adena todo.
Fashion school.
Per day be from. Wow, affected.
I guess she's traumatized.
Yes, she's traumatized. So she's saying she would want to go to a fashion school and that she doesn't want to return to doing the mobile money transfer because she's traumatized. But Mr. Bona, you were just about, turning the lid on the interesting aspect of it, which you wanted to talk about anyway. The recent national conversation has been about two teenage boys allegedly killing a 10, 11-year-old boy. What's on everybody's mind is how children are committing crimes, dastardly crimes. Like, these are crimes that you can't think about. They're unthinkable. And it makes me wonder, 10, 20 years from now, what else is going to happen if children as young as 16 are engaged in all sorts of actions like this?
Well, you see, it speaks to the core of our challenges in this country. I usually would always want to say, whilst we critique, you profile or you bring out solutions. Growing up, once again, in the 70s, one will say we were children. I'm sure even for you, you are old enough not to have witnessed, your age mates committing some of these crimes. What we are seeing today has to do with all these mushroom media houses who are not regulated. I'm sure if Metro TV today, if you brought some traditional fetish priest onto your network, you will see the bashing you will receive. Yeah. Because you are supposed to, hold on to some higher moral, journalism or broadcasting ethics. Yeah. Nobody is actually, the public is not regulating, when I say regulating, not criticizing enough those mushroom TV stations who are owned by the Agrades and, the Obinims and the Obofuos, and who come flaunting wealth and telling people make money. Because if you come on TV, these days, if it is not maybe, what's the name? Cable TV. Mm-hmm. It is difficult to put child lock on this free-to-air. So the child comes in, and they go and they turn onto the thing, and they see people, tricking people by pretending to be charming and bringing money. And if you are a child, you will believe that, it is good to make quick money. And so children are, who below, even if you were 25, what would you need so much money for? But this country, you are not questioned. If you drive the best car in this country, if you lived in, let's say, $1 million house, nobody questions you. I lived in the UK for several years, and depending on even the car you drive, you would get stopped 4 or 5 times if you drove out. Because they will question you, Where do you work? How did you, they question you. The simple reason is that somebody thinks that you cannot afford, especially when you are even a black person. They think you can't afford the car you are driving. So tell us. So people who go into all this money laundering stuff and sell weed and drugs in some of this country, they get the money cash, they put it under their pillows, because if you joke and you go out to do any hard cash purchase, they will flag you and start chasing you. Here, don't you see all these musicians who have questionable characters, stealing money and and so becoming rich has become the new normal, and it's not how you make the money. And that is where the problem is. And so what we are seeing the children do today didn't start today. The truth is that these children would definitely not be coming from East Legon. These children would definitely not be coming from maybe Adenta, would not be coming from maybe Ashie, where you have met a lot of middle-income parents who are striving to make sure their children are well brought up. They'll be coming from communities like Kasoa, where they see people drive. I don't want to mention any brand of car, and to them, they watch all sorts of media, stations. To them, this is making money is what you should do, and it might involve killing somebody. And do they even understand the consequences of their crime? And so, as far as I'm concerned, you know what? Let's not, underrate what is going on in Kasoa, like I'm saying. The situation is getting out of hand, or is gotten out of hand. And the moment you see some types of people committing crime, then you know that the issue is killing a human being. Yeah. Then you should know, if this was done by some adults, it's not news. Yes. Maybe we wouldn't even be discussing it. But these are children. And they said something dry. They said your pocket will not dry or something. That is the name of the charm. And that's it. They've killed this little boy, and they've been caught. What are you going to do? So we need to start thinking. For me, I think we need to really look at this whole issue about source of funding, source of finance, where you get your money from. You live in this house. The taxman should be able to come in, show us proof. The laws must work. That you earn this money, and that is why you build this house. If not, someone like you, if you can't do juju, or you can't really scam people, you can't make the money. So you might end up renting, and then eventually you get some 2-3 bedroom house. You build with your hard-earned money. And it might not be at East Legon or Adenta, right? It may be somewhere outskirts. But that's all you can get because you want to earn your money decently. So we have to have a bigger conversation on this. Very well. I want to touch on the economic factor, which you've raised. There's indeed the get rich quick, but there's also a reality of poverty, abject poverty in certain areas, which will spiral these kind of things that we are seeing. And I'm sure there will be a link between the economic factor and criminality. Yes, there is a link. But if you look at Kasoa, to be specific, and this crime that is being committed, if you are a child, what is poverty? I mean, 12 years, 15 years and 16 years. But they have desires. They see their friends. They see things on TV. They wish toys. They wish they could afford. I understand that in these ones we heard things about Range Rovers which were a bit extreme. But I'm sure children also would have desires. You would have desires. Those days, if we had desires, you know, that you will say, oh, when I grow up, I'll buy this car for my mommy. I'm sure we all said that. Oh, I'll build this type of house for my... We didn't say when we grow up, we're going to have this for ourselves. I mean, usually, I'm sure some people, but it is, even that you say, when I grow up, you then say, I want to have it now. So the money doublers have made these thoughts, or children move from the thoughts to action. To reality. And so you have these young people who don't see these money doublers as criminals. The agraders who come to sit on TV and scamming people, and people have reported and nothing. And you have some Osofos. Can we not mention names? Well, good. Please. You have some Osofos. Thank you. I would wish that I mention some of the names. Just because there is evidence. Listen, there is evidence. The security agencies are becoming very negligent. So if they are purporting not to know who these people are, I think that sometimes, let's be bold and tell them that go for the evidence. You have an Osofo who is carrying a bunch of money. He comes to church and is peeling. How much tax has he paid on this money he's throwing on people? We want to know, isn't it? Once you are not doing that, I think that if they call it the law enforcement agencies or the regulators will set up, Bank of Ghana, the NCA, you wait, let your station, touch will do anything. And you see how NCA, you don't even pay your license. What, I think you pay license. Don't your broadcasting license. Let it pass and see how they'll descend here. They'll come and do a lot of show and close it down. But all these mushroom stations, you don't even know where they operate from. And so
their defense is that they also have similar challenges like the police with resources, manpower and all that.
And what is resource? The NCA has so much power. What is resource? Identify them. Send one out. You see, when you have the law to your side, you can actually locate them. So are you saying that if it is Metro TV who is doing wrong, they have the resources to come to you?
Well, because Metro TV probably is out there, has a bigger reach, and is easily identifiable.
My dear, let's not make excuses for these officers of the state. I think that they owe all of us that duty or responsibility to make sure that when we sleep, we sleep. These days, look at all these young people, beggars, these young children who are begging. This is something that you watch. A time will come when these people begin to throw people out of their car to rob them. And it's already going on.
Exactly.
It's already going on, but it's going to be massive. It will take one dastardly act from 1, 2, 3 of them, and it becomes a big issue.
Because these days, if you're driving, they're trying to open your doors.
Thank you. They try to open your door, and they are so bossu. And these are little boys and girls begging. So my point is that, what does the law say about begging, using children? This morning when I was driving out of home from office into town for, somebody threw 1 CD on the floor, and one of the boys pointed to the mother and told the mother the mother picked. It means that they take this money for their parents. So for me, I would want to see a situation where, the authorities, NCA, Bank of Ghana, if somebody tells you, I will charm money, do they charm the money with, what's the name? Serial numbers. I'm sure you know every note has a unique serial number.
Yeah.
So you have a 1 Ghana cedi no serial number, same as 200 Ghana cedi serial number. So when they charm the money, does it come with the Bank of Ghana serial number? If not, then these people are criminals. They are playing tricks on people. So Bank of Ghana should be able to work with the NCA, work with the police, the national security or the NIB, the National Intelligence Bureau, to be able to apprehend these people. They should use some of them as examples.
Even if they are conjuring these monies and they do have the serial numbers from the Bank of Ghana, that will still be criminal.
No, they should prove it. My point is that it will still be criminal. But what I can say is that I do believe.
You don't believe it?
I don't believe, no, I don't believe it. I do believe these are criminals. Because then, they play a lot of tricks. Let them prove it before you even prosecute them. Let them prove it. Most of them, maybe all of them, because I don't see any level-headed person who go to any of these persons and say, I have 100 cedi, give me 200. And they sit on TV. And they are so aggressive. And so mine is that, my dear, let's not mince words and say, make excuses for the NCA, Bank of Ghana. As for the police, I always say that the truth is that they are not regulators. So the police cannot actually go and say, somebody says it's doubling money, it's a crime. Until Bank of Ghana goes and say that, show us the proof, you don't have a proof. Then they say you are a criminal. Then they say the police pick him.
They can come in.
That's what some of us expect. Or else, all of us, our children, are at risk. And all of us are at risk. We get to a point where Kasoa has now become a banana community. Ghana eventually becomes a banana republic. Where do we go? Because then you don't say what is happening in Kasoa. Tomorrow, wherever you stay, it's a first-class community, to get there, to come there. So let's be very careful in what we tell our leaders. They should make sure that what is happening in Kasoa is stopped. And also the telecom companies. I will not single out any of them. I don't want to, I think it is fair not to mention them on your network because they are a business. Mine is that the regulator should make sure that someone like her, you should not put her in harm's way, because unemployment is what made this young woman try to be self-employed.
Yeah.
And becoming self-employed, you maim her forever. Now she says they give her 100 cedis?
Yes, for her business.
For a month or something? Monthly. 100 cedis every month?
No.
What?
For her hospital bills.
100 cedis. Now I don't get it.
That make hospital bill.
Any day she goes to.
Okay,
So far, how much have they given you? It's 500 or less? Over such and 500. Okay.
So you see, my point is that young, beautiful woman, she's been maimed forever. The telecom company only makes available to her something that cannot take one of this rider, boat, and Uber to the hospital and back. And nobody is talking about it. So they should provide
some sort of security. But some people will raise employment issues and the status of employment, but that's another conversation. I want us to take a break. When we come back, Mr. Bona, I want us to delve into criminology and children. Maybe you can share some insights and some education going forward and how bad the problem could be and what we can do. And I know in solving the problem, it starts really from the home. It's not just about the media or at the national level. So I want us to get into that conversation. But we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll hear from our guests. Welcome back. I'd like to read some quick messages before we go on. Good afternoon. Please, I'm Akokraba from Atebubu. I think we must all come together to pray for the Kasoa community. Another message. Good afternoon. Watching you live from Nkwanta Oti region. My name is Masaudu Hamza. I'm really enjoying the discussion. Gideon says the content on our television of late is so disturbing. Let's regulate the content our younger ones are watching. If not, the future is not good at all. When I was growing up, content on our TV were more educative. Thank you for your messages and keep them coming. Mr. Bona, I want to ask to understand this. The typical profiling of a criminal will not be a minor.
It depends.
Okay, so then educate us on that.
It depends. It depends on where you are coming from. If you ask every criminologist, he will tell you that a typical profiling of a minor would also depend on data collected from a certain types of crimes. Every crime that is committed internationally or anywhere has a certain DNA. So you will have, let's say, growing up, we had adults. Those days, growing up, you had adults who would groom young children into pickpockets, who would groom young children into, pilfering. And so growing up in Tema those days, the Tema Harbor area, a bit more fortified. And so if an adult, for instance, wanted to steal something from the main harbor, they would send certain types of children to be able to go through the fences, because the fences were this way. But a child could go through to be able to steal whatever it is and push it to the fence for it to come out. And so depending on data that is collected from various crime scenes and how the crimes are committed, one cannot easily conclude and say, if you have to do typical, crime profiling, that would not include minor or children. It depends. And so now, what has changed now is that those days you had the mafia boss or the gang leader or the mobster, the big man, who recruits young children and sends them to go steal and bring it to him. Now the children themselves have become bosses.
Taking their own initiative.
So depending on what type of crime that is committed, one can safely say this crime would involve maybe a good number of children who committed the crime by themselves, without the involvement of any adult, or with some training of some adults. So as far as I'm concerned, this adds to probably what criminologists would have to begin to look into, the trend of crimes that is probably is evolving, very fluid, where you have young children now not pickpocketing, not going to steal fried plantain or fried in Chinam, fried fish, but now they want to kill, to drive the best of cars, Range Rovers and Mercedes and all those cars that you need a lot of money. So as far as I'm concerned, it speaks to the core of the types of crimes and the way crimes have evolved over the years in this country.
Very well.
What we are seeing today is not so different. Even though Kasoa, you have plenty of it going on as we speak, we also have cases of crimes going on all over the country.
And I'm happy you've brought that up. In wrapping up, what does the incidents happening in Kasoa, and as you also hint, happening all over the country, what does this say really about the national security of Ghana, and what's the way forward?
Phew. That's a very good question. Anyone who understands security, a bit of security or more of security, will tell you that the soul of every security architecture is intelligence. The soul of every security architecture is its intelligence. So for instance, when 9/11 happened, they were able to trace and know that Mohammed Atta and his people came in and how they came in, the models and all that. So now it's become predominantly very difficult to commit that type of crimes, in certain areas in the world. But today, if you come to Ghana, we seem to have, call it a political national security. And once you politicize security, chances are that you don't get the right intel. The informant regime, or the Whistleblowers Act, even though it has been enacted, where you get to get some money when you give information, is predominantly dead. It's not working. And so mine is that, for instance, I have advocated, and it is something that has been done over the years. As we speak, I am expecting the current IGP to have done serious reshuffle of the top echelon of the Ghana Police Service. Appear to do, he did that. And you just go and check the police's own database. The year after an election year, crime peaks.
So that's the solution?
So no, it's not the only solution, but it helps to reduce, to lessen, and also to throw the criminals out of, their comfort areas. But once you do that, they have to now understudy the new guys who have been brought in. It gives you time to be able to reorganize. But at the moment, we are operating a flat security architecture where, I know you are the presenter of Good Afternoon Ghana. If this is security and you've been doing this for the last 20 years and there are challenges and you continue to do it, everybody knows, oh,
it's predictable.
If you do it well too, then they say good. But when the situation is not working, I'm sure at your station, if you aren't doing your work well, they'll say somebody else should take over. So mine is that I hope the IGP is listening, is a good friend, is listening and would act upon it. Okay. The Vice President, as the Chairman of the Police Council, would also, so that let's see some movement, so that crime rates, look at accidents.
Yes.
It's peaked.
It's peaked. So the hope really is that this call you're making will reach the corridors or the ears of the IGP, as well as the Vice President who sits on the police board. I want to take final words from you, Kate. I understand that you want to make a certain appeal. So you can watch the camera and speak to Ghanaians about this appeal that you want to make. I'll give you 1 minute.
Ghana for born. Then says about what's the way operation now, me who are there. It's not so the over bomb. Kakobia, but can I come from bomb name from operation.
Okay, so she's making an appeal for assistance to operate on her eye, or both of them. Both her eyes. Okay. I think this is where we draw the curtains. I'll just take 2 more messages or 1 more. Good afternoon. I think the government has something to do or a lot more to do about this. This is sad. What the gentleman in the studio is saying is true. I was attacked in front of the Total filling station next to Paloma by a young man in his early 20s, armed with a gun and a knife around 10:20 p.m. in my car, demanding money. What are authorities doing in this country? Well, I hope the conversation goes on from here, and the IGP and also the authorities that be will hear our voices here. But I'm grateful to my guest in the studio, Adam Bona, a security analyst. Kate Aidoo is a victim of an acid attack, and she was here with her mother, Theresa Mensah. We're grateful to all of you for sending your messages as well and watching. Thank you. We'll be back on Wednesday with another edition.